Respected elders and dear brothers, we are very glad and we are in a very happy occasion that we have our great scholar and ustaz and professor in his field, Professor Ustaz Imran Hossein, and also this is a very good and best occasion. We are meeting our great scholar and the person who is always servicing the needy people in all over the world, Imam Qasim, alhamdulillah. So we are thanks to all these great scholars, and also we thank our host, Dr. Anwar Ansari, who created this event and who is holding this occasion and this event. So we thank him as well. So what will be our program is, first of all, we begin our program of this event with the tilawah of Quran Kareem, and then there will be the word of the event, which will be delivered by Dr. Anwar Al-Ansari, inshallah. And after that, there will be a small introduction about Ustaz Imran Hossein, who is delivering by his student Faryad. And also after that, there will be a short talk of Imam Qasim, and after that will be, inshallah, our guest, our great guest Imran Hossein, will be delivering his speech, and after his speech we are welcoming your question as well, but we need that you write your question in writing rather than verbally, so it will be better than us and you as well, and should be your question specific question and to the point. You raise some points which you are not understanding or what you need, that the explanation should be for the whole entire community, inshallah. So I am asking Dr. Anwar Ansari to come.
Thank you very much for coming on a middle of the week on a Wednesday and troubling you from your affairs, but I felt it was such an important event to have Maulana Imran Hossein, who I've followed for many, many years and sought guidance in terms of the Dajjal, last days on earth, which he has spoken about very, very widely and eloquently. And I find his translation of hadith in the modern context of where we live is one of the most clear and concise and well thought out solutions that I've tried to find for something in my daily life about bringing up children, about family, about doing business, about working, and so on. And one of his students is here, Fayaz, who has studied with him, who will be able to tell you about 10 most important aspects of where Maulana Imran can help us improve our life, improve our businesses, and so on. We also welcome Maulana Qasim as well from Iqra TV, who has been a great inspiration for all of us in the charity work he's done up to now, and continues to support worthwhile causes and continues to promote Islam in the truest form. And I've known him for now 20, 30 years, and his relentless work never ceases. And I think we are very honoured to have two such great people within our midst, and I would hope they would come again for further lectures and to teach us more about hadith and how we would go about conducting our affairs. I am particularly, because I'm in business, concerned about the great subject of Riba, and I've read intensely what Imam Imran has to say about it, and I'm particularly keen to find out more details about it, as we all, I think, are, because we are surrounded by this.
especially as the world of money today is witnessing quite a large transformation, or at least it's on the brink of a transformation. And Riba will continue to operate in ever more deceptive manners. Riba is generally understood to mean an additional increase to which one is not justly entitled to. And present in the world today is in many different forms. Those who are familiar with Sheikh Imran's work will be familiar with his view that the occurrences in this last age that we are living in are not happening in isolation, but rather the major actors of Al-Masih al-Dajjal, or Dajjal, the false Messiah, and Gog and Magog are primary actors who are using Riba as a weapon to achieve their objectives. For the benefit of those here who are not too familiar with Sheikh, I will give a small background of the Sheikh. Sheikh Imran Hossein is a contemporary scholar of Islamic eschatology. Eschatology is the study or knowledge of the last age of the end times, and the Arabic equivalent will be ilmu akhir zaman. Much of this subject finds its need in the world today, as more explanation is needed for the strange world we live in. Sheikh was a student of Dr. Fadl Rahman Ansari, who established in Karachi the Graduate Institute, the Alili Institute of Islamic Studies, of which Sheikh graduated in 1971 and was a principal for a brief time there as well. Sheikh has also briefly studied at Al-Azhar University. He was a foreign service officer for the government of Trinidad and Tobago up until 1985. Prior to this, he had studied at the Graduate Institute of International Relations in Geneva, Switzerland, and the University of West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago, where he studied international relations and international monetary economics respectively. Afterwards, he spent much of his time in North America, where he was a director of da'wah for a particular Jamaat, the Tanzim Islami, and was also a director of Islamic Studies for the Joint Committee of Muslim Organizations of Greater New York, and an imam at Masjid Dar al-Quran in Long Island in New York. Since that time, and during his time in North America, he's devoted his time, his thought, to eschatology, and has published numerous books on the subject, including Jerusalem in the Quran. Lastly, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may reward all those gathered here who are gathered for the sake of knowledge, and that we may all benefit from what we heard today. Jazakallah khair.
Respected Imam Sheikh Imran Hossein, Sheikh Hafiz Rabbani Sahib, Dr. Ansari, and distinguished, mashallah, leaders, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll speak just for 5 minutes, simply because Dr. Anwar have requested, because we are mainly here to listen to Imam Hossein, who is, mashallah, ocean of knowledge when it comes to most important matters and issues of this life. There is a saying that al-i'tibaru bil-khawari. What matters most is the end result. End result is the most important thing. Anything you do in your life, no matter how struggling or how easy or how luxurious or how painful the process or the journey was, it depends on the end result. If it was one of the worst and painful journey, but the end result was good, then all that pain goes away. And if it was luxurious and so on, this and that, and end result is dangerous and is basically painful, then all that luxury becomes meaningless. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to think about ourselves, to study ourselves, to study the nature, to study the sciences and so on. If we are being asked to study, we can say the style of mountains and camels and so on, then surely it is very important. In fact, it's more important to study our present time and where this time is leading us as a nation, as a community. You know, there are 5 pillars of Islam, everyone knows that. Along with 5 pillars, yes, we do tilawah Quran, we do dhikr, we do dua, we do istighfar, we do many things, mashallah. Well, away from general understanding of ibadah, there is something which is called Muslim lifestyle or Islamic lifestyle. And I would, for now, in this short speech, divide that lifestyle into 4 components. One is personal, second one is social, third one is professional, and fourth one is political. In order to develop our personal life, we need to have many things in us, many qualities in us. I will give you an example of 3. And from those 3, you can take it to 33 or 333 or 3,000, whatever. First 3 are taqwa, tawakkul, and sabr. Taqwa, that basically many people regard as fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I would call it mixture of love and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawakkul, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sabr, to be patient on the problems and difficulties and hardship you face. Now if you look at it, in reality, no one in the world can tell exactly how much taqwa one person have in him or her. It's purely your personal life, your totally, utterly private life. Not even your wife possibly can tell what is the level of taqwa in my husband. Maybe she can judge, maybe she can estimate, but in reality, behind the scene, it could be a totally different person. So having a beard or wearing this thobe is not necessarily a sign of taqwa. You could find basically somebody who is looking like a sinful person, but in reality he has greater taqwa in him than many others who looks like practicing people. So taqwa, similarly tawakkul and sabr, all these 3 qualities no one can judge except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's your personal life between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to develop your personality, you have to start from these 3 things, and then you can develop further qualities and you can add more things into this catalog. In order to have your social life, improve your social life, your close friends, your circle, people who like you, who love you, your family friends, you can say work colleagues and so on. You need to have many things, many qualities in you, but again I'll give you 3 of those. Salam, ihsan, and shukr. Most important thing, we as Muslims, when we meet each other, we have to say Assalamu alaikum. The moment you say Assalamu alaikum, you pass in signal, you pass in basically clear message to the other person that you are protected from me, you have no fear from me. That is the first sign towards building relationship, towards improving relationship, towards progressing on what you have built upon. And then ihsan. Ihsan is 2 types of things. One is ihsan in Urdu, in our Indian language. Ihsan mand hona, ihsan mandi karna, to do some favor, to be nice. But ihsan, according to hadith, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. That you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you cannot imagine that, then at least imagine that Allah is watching you. What does it mean? Does it mean that all the time you keep on thinking this? No, it means that anything you do at the highest, most perfect way. And subhanAllah, I've seen those people, and I'm one of the examples myself, that if you are dedicated, if you are focused on something, and you really, really work hard on it, you don't jump on conclusion, you don't jump on basically opportunities and so on. No, you are focused and dedicated. And you try to do as best as you can, thinking that there is no second opportunity. I have to do it perfectly. Then inshallah, people will love you even more, will follow you even more, and so on. And third one is shukr, to be thankful. More you are thankful to people, the more you will get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the more bounties and favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be attracted naturally towards you. So salam, ihsan, and shukr. Man lam yashkurin nas, lam yashkurillah. He who is not thankful to people, to fellow human beings, cannot be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And shukr, again, two type of things. One is saying verbally, yes, thank you very much, thanks a lot, jazakumullah khair. But real meaning of shukr is to appreciate by actions. And to appreciate something by actions is to take most benefit out of it. So for example, today Sheikh Imam Hossein is here. One is to say, thank you, Sheikh, you are here. Jazakumullah khair. That's fine, shukr is done. But the real shukr is that you listen to Sheikh and you take that message for yourself and for others. You practice that. You appreciate that in a sense that that message becomes principle for your life. That would be real shukr for this evening's gathering. So once you have salam, ihsan, shukr, your friendship circle, yourself will get better. And very quickly, towards the last two ones, third one is your professional life. Right? Your professional life, basically where you are working and so on, this and that. Mawadda, rahmah, and af. Right? In fact, adl, musawat, ukhuwat. Adl, musawat, ukhuwat. This is to do with professional life. Adl means justice, musawat, equality, ukhuwah, brotherhood. If you create these three things at your workplace, in your environment, in your basically locality or whatever, then inshallah your professional life will get better. If you be unjust, if there is no equality, if there is no justice in your basically professional life, then you may be successful for a while, but not for long. And then political life. If you want to be, you can say, a favorite leader in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the eyes of public, not only in your own eyes, but in the eyes of all, then you need these three things: mawadda, rahmah, and af. Mawadda means love, rahmah means mercy, and af means strength, ability, and power to forgive. When you are a leader, it's very easy for you to punish others. It's very easy for you to basically penalize those who are against you. And that's when you need real strength to forgive. So alhamdulillah, when we develop these things, we as a person will be much better person, inshallah. And then Sheikh will take further, inshallah, how to basically look after our financial system and our lifestyle, Muslim lifestyle, especially people in UK. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah wa kafa. والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Brother Chairman, Dr. Ansari, Imam Qasim, brothers and sisters, although I don't know where the sisters are, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe there's an echo. There's an echo, yeah. Our subject. Come Imam. Yeah. Walaikum salam. Our subject is entitled the prohibition of riba in Islam. And we begin with the verse of the Quran in Surah Al-Nahl, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعَلَوْذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, that He sent down this Quran. Allah says, تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Whenever I say Allah says, then the words which follow must be in Arabic, not in English. Because Allah didn't say anything in English. He sent down this Quran, He says, تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ, that the Quran has come to explain all things. So if I want a definition and an explanation of riba, I don't go to Oxford University or Qaid-e-Azam University. I go to the Quran. That's the first thing in methodology. Secondly, that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam has been sent to explain the Quran, to teach the Quran. So we'll go to the hadith and we look for the hadith for that which is in harmony with the Quran. And then we accept it. But if we find in the hadith that which is in conflict with the Quran, what do we do with that? We put it aside. We put it aside. You cannot know that the hadith is in conflict with the Quran unless you've done your homework. Unless you've gone to the Quran and studied the subject. And if my audience would be so kind as to forgive me, people don't have time for the Quran today. You have time for everything else. But you don't have time for the Quran. So don't blame us. Don't say, when you're in the grave, nobody taught you the subject. Don't say that. Because you have a duty to go to the Quran yourself. This is Islam. The book has been preserved. No one can corrupt it. Not even the CIA can do it. Since Allah has preserved the book, we have a duty to go to the book to study the subject. And when we go to the book to study the subject, we find something startling. That the Quran came down in revelations which spanned over a period of 23 years. And several of the revelations dealt with the subject of riba, which I have not defined as yet. But the very last revelation on the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas, on the authority of Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, the very last revelation, and it is recorded in Sahih Bukhari, the very last revelation to come down in the Quran. Nothing after this. Revelation is coming down for thousands of years. And now the very last word from Allah is to come down. And after this, no more. No more divine revelation. Is it going to be on taqwa? Is it going to be on salat? Is it going to be on purification of the heart, tazkiyah? What is it going to be on? Amazingly and frightfully so, the last revelation is on Riba. And in the last revelation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares war. And He says that His Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, also joins with him in that war. فَإِذْ لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, if you do not give up this riba, فَأَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, then take notice of a declaration of Allah is going to wage war on you and His Prophet as well. Well, that war may have been waged for us for a long time now, in individual capacities and so on. But the most dramatic evidence of war from Allah will come when He is destroying left, right and center. When will that destruction come? Does He speak about that ultimate war which He's going to wage? This is His last word. This is His last word. For those who wish to eat their biryani and go to sleep, fine. But there are others who want to listen when Allah speaks. He speaks in Surah Al-Isra. And listen to what He says. وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا كَانَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَسْطُورًا. There is not a single town and city that I am not going to destroy. I'll destroy them all. And those which escape destruction, I'm going to punish them with terrible punishment. And this is something inscribed in the book. Were you ever aware of this? That this is in the Quran? But Allah is a God of justice. So He would not justice. He would not destroy a town or a city which does not deserve to be destroyed. If there is an oppressor and there are the oppressed, why would He destroy the oppressed? It makes sense to say He will destroy the oppressor. So now we understand the verse of the Quran to say, there is not a single town or city which deserves to be destroyed that I will not destroy. And those which escape destruction will be punished with terrible punishment. When will this come? This destruction in which large numbers of towns and cities are going to be destroyed by Allah, who declared the last word which came from Him, I'm going to wage war. I'm going to wage war on those who still consume riba. Well, He also waged war on Sodom and Gomorrah. So if you declare that a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate, that's is your seal that you're going to be destroyed. Because He said, when I destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, I left that as a sign. So we just have to look around the world to see who are the oppressors in the world today. If that subject interests those who need more to life than eating biryani and going home to sleep, or to live a comfortable life, thank you, in your cocoon. Who are the oppressors in the world today? Who are those who are pursuing and advancing the sinister agenda of homosexuality? And who are those who are the very heart and center of riba in the world today? And if you know anything about what's happening in the world of politics today, you would know that it can take place at any time now. It can take place at any time now. And we'll have the Great War in our hands. And when the Great War takes place, the Christian eschatology calls it Armageddon, but they don't teach this at Oxford. And the Islamic eschatology calls it the Malhama, but it's not taught in any of our universities. No, we have more important things to teach in our universities. Thank you. Well, then wait and see. When the attack takes place and Russia responds, it's going to be a nuclear war. And that is in Surah Rahman of the Quran. It's not by accident that Allah repeats in Surah Rahman 31 times the same thing. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. He repeats it 31 times, so you can't miss it. He's knocking at your rational consciousness to tell you there's something here you got to study. And I'm telling it to you 31 times. That war is coming. And it is a war in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will intervene. And it is in that war that the destruction of every town and city will take place, which ought to be destroyed. And Riba is at the top of the list. What then is Riba? The subject is now more than mere academic interest. It's a matter of life and death, today or tomorrow, when the Great War takes place. Riba is a system of oppression. And the religion which has come from Allah has zero tolerance for oppression. Whatever be the form of oppression, it has no place in the religious way of life. And Allah responds to the oppressor in the way that He did with Pharaoh, underneath the water, and He preserved his body. To tell the world that the oppressor will once again be destroyed. And Riba is a system of oppression. The Quran itself helps us to understand the process of Riba. It deals with the subject in 3 stages. As the revelations come down, Makkah is riddled with Riba. But the Supreme Court in Makkah never declared that on the 28th of July, Riba is going to be finished in this country. Well, that's what they did in Islamabad. No, the Quran has a different way from the Supreme Court of Islamabad. In the first stage, Allah provided education to teach you what is riba. And that continued for some time. And then came a second stage in which He prohibited riba, but did not enforce the prohibition retroactively. No. If there were riba transactions, they would remain valid. They would remain legally valid, even after this revelation prohibiting riba. It is no future transaction that will be permitted. And that was stage 2. And the British sheikh, he understood this subject better than anybody else, a man named Shakespeare, in Merchant of Venice, a good book to read. He understood it perfectly. The process, the stage-by-stage process, Shakespeare understood it in Merchant of Venice. And then came stage 3. And stage 3 did not come down in the Quran. It came with Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And it came at the last possible moment when he is delivering the khutbatul wida, the farewell khutbah in the Hajj. He has only 81 days left in his life. And it is at this time that he now enforces the legislation retroactively. Why so late in the day? It's an indication that this is a complex subject. And you've got to take time with it. That's why Allah took so much time with riba. But we live in the fast lane of life. So we want answers quick, quick, quick. I don't have time, sheikh. Give me your answer quick. We don't have time anymore to think and to study. So I say, if that's what you want, go find somebody else and leave me alone. In the first stage, he explained to us, he teaches us through offering contrasts. And the contrasts are delivered in a way that forces us to think if we are to understand it. He says, الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ الرِّبَا, those who consume riba. As you know, one part of the world is now consuming all the riba. لَا يَقُومُونَ إِلَّا كَمَا يَقُومُ الَّذِي يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنَ الْمَسِّ. They're going to live a strange way of life. When you look at them with eyes of purity, uncorrupted eyes, and with hearts of purity, uncorrupted hearts, and you look at the way these people live, you will say these are people who seem to have been driven to madness by the touch of shaitan. But if you are also living on the fast lane, you won't see it. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا, this is because they argue. إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَا. This is halal business. Our transactions of riba qualify as business. But Allah responds and He says, oh no. وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Allah has made business halal and riba haram. So now, the question is, in what way does riba differ from business? The Quran doesn't tell you. You've got to do your homework, you've got to think. What's the difference between a riba transaction and a business transaction? The very same verse continues to explain, the same passage, that when you give up your demand for riba, فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. Oh, now we understand it. You have made a loan and you expect to be repaid the loan with an additional amount, normally called today interest. And Allah is saying, if you give up riba, then you are entitled to the return of the principal sum that you lent. There you are. Definition. So now, they argue that money lending on interest is a valid form of business. That is the argument. And Allah responds to say, no, I have made business halal and I have made riba haram, and that's full stop. He doesn't tell you more. You have to do your homework now. In what way does a riba transaction differ from a business transaction? And in the process of answering that question, you will now get an insight into the oppression or the exploitative nature of riba, which is why it has been prohibited. We don't have the time for me to pause and interact with my audience and ask for your views and so on, because I love that, but I can't do that today. The definition of a business transaction is that it is one in which you can make a profit or you can suffer a loss. If the transaction is of such a nature, if you want to immunize yourself from any possibility of loss, that is not business. لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Don't rip off people. Don't engage in fraudulent transactions. إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم. Rather, you must conduct business in such a way that there is mutual satisfaction. Look at the beauty of the truth which is coming from Allah. So when you do business and there is mutual satisfaction, you build trust. And now the people with whom you are doing business trust you. And when they trust you as a businessman, when you come to preach to them the religion of truth, they trust you with that as well. But when you're ripping them off, who will accept what they teach? Who will accept it? The biggest rip-off of all is not when you take your car to the garage and all it needs is a fuse to be changed. And a fuse, you can buy a fuse for less than £1. And the garage tells you this is a big job, it's going to take a whole week, it's going to cost you £5,000. And you don't know. And you leave the car in the garage for a whole week. And then you come and you take the car and you pay £5,000. And all he did was to change a fuse, which is less than £1. He ripped you off. But that's not the biggest rip-off of all. No. The biggest rip-off of all in all of human history is when Allah created money. And in the Quran, Allah tells us that money is a gold coin and a silver coin, a dinar and a dirham. And Allah's messenger said that when you have a shortage of dinar and dirham in the market, you can turn to other things as money on the condition that they have intrinsic value. So in Medina they use dates as money, that's right. Shall I tell you a story? Do we have enough time? Do you want to hear the story? People who eat biryani and go home and sleep, they don't have interest in this. No. Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu once came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and offered him some dates. The Prophet looked at the dates and he said, Bilal, these are very high quality dates. Where did you get them? Because dates are of different qualities, you know. I find the Algerian dates the best of all. He said, O Messenger of Allah, I had two sa'as, but let us use modern terminology for your benefit. I had 2 kilograms, if you'd allow me. May I? I had 2 kilograms of inferior quality dates. And I exchanged them for this 1 kilogram of superior quality dates. That's how I got them. Bilal, said the Prophet, this is the essence of riba. What you should have done was to sell the 2 kilograms and take that money and buy the 1 kilogram. That's okay. But a direct exchange of dates that was unequal, 1 for 2, 2 for 1, is riba. Why is it riba? How does it qualify as riba? You will have to excuse Imran. I'm 76 years of age and I have a lot of anger inside of me. A lot of anger inside of me. So sometimes I explode. Because I've been teaching this subject for more than 20 years now. Nobody listens. We wouldn't be in the mess in which we are today if we were listening. So sometimes you will hear my anger inside of me. So kindly excuse me. Why is it riba for an unequal exchange of dates? But Umar radiallahu ta'ala who exchanged camels 1 for 4. That was not riba. No. But dates is riba. The answer is to be found in another hadith in which the Prophet said, listen to what he said, if, this is my qualifying statement, if a transaction involves an exchange of gold for gold, or silver for silver, or wheat for wheat, or barley for barley, or dates for dates, which is this one, or salt for salt. It must be equal. Both sides must be equal. It must be equal for equal, meaning if you have 2 kilograms on this side, you must have 2 kilograms on this side. It must be equal for equal. And it must be hand to hand. Therefore, a credit transaction is prohibited. What is common to all 6? Gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, and salt. And when we study this hadith, we look for those hearts which want to be faithful to Allah and His Messenger, regardless of the implications of living in this modern world. If your primary objective is to find a way to live in the modern world in a comfortable way, you have no right to be here. First, I want to be brutal. You have no right to be here. Don't bother listening to me. Because the religion that I have and the religion that you have, it came from the Prophet who said that the time will come when holding on to Islam will be like holding on to hot coals. Hot coals is different from biryani and madida and halwa. What is common to all 6, gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, and salt, is that they were all used as money. That when there was a shortage of gold and silver in the market, they would turn to commodities of food consumption, which had a shelf life, and which were in abundant supply in the market, and which, like gold and silver, had intrinsic value. The value of the money was inside the money. It was not a fictitious value. You have to have the intellectual acumen of a donkey. A donkey! That you take a piece of paper and you give it a fictitious value. And you call that money. I say you're a donkey. I can say that because I've studied my subject. For a long, long time I've studied my subject, so I can talk like this. I've studied monetary economics, I know it. That's why I can speak so forcefully. It's not taught in the Darul Uloom. No, sorry. If there was a shortage of gold and silver in the market, they could use wheat or barley or dates or so. And if you're in Java, in Indonesia, you could use rice, not the cooked rice of course, the paddy rice. And if you're in Cuba, you can use sugar. Yes. Oh, Sheikh Imran, how practical is that? Fine, go. In the grave you could ask the angel in the grave, how practical is that? Wait for the grave. With your practicality and your insistence on convenience. I'm sick and fed up of it. So what they did? So long as money had intrinsic value, we never had inflation. I shouldn't have to repeat that 1,000 times. So long as money had intrinsic value, we never had inflation. As soon as we removed real money from the market and replaced it with bogus, fraudulent and haram money, we now have inflation. Number one, they are creating money out of thin air. That's the first haram. So you are bad now. You can create wealth out of thin air. You take a piece of paper and you print a picture on it and you put a number on it and you assign a fictitious value to it and it becomes money. And because you control power in the world, you are the oppressor. Your money has, what is it called? They call it hard currency. Strange terminology, eh? And when we do the same stupidness, we print the Pakistani rupee and the Bangladeshi taka, and we pack a suitcase filled with Bangladeshi taka, a whole suitcase, and we want to buy just one cup of coffee in Manhattan. We can't buy it. Because this has no value. It's not hard currency. You don't have to have a PhD to understand that this is a system of oppression. That's the first part of this stupidity. And we accepted it. We all joined the International Monetary Fund like, excuse my language, like a bunch of jackasses. That's right. All of us joined the International Monetary Fund. Wait on Judgment Day and you will see. Wait for Judgment Day. The only one who stood away from the International Monetary Fund was Ahmad Sukarno. He took Indonesia out of the IMF. And he took Indonesia out of the United Nations Organization. And I say his name should be written in gold, but you wouldn't understand that if you're only eating biryani and going home to sleep. My language is harsh, because this subject is the most dangerous one of all. This is the biggest snake of all. And nobody listens. So my language is harsh, particularly to the Darul Uloom and to the Jamia, which are producing thousands and thousands and thousands of ulama. And to this day, we never get a fatwa that this money is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's haram. Wait for Judgment Day. Not only did they replace gold and silver in the market with their own paper money, but they did something more. They prohibited the use of gold and silver as money. It's there in the Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund. The reason why they did that is because once gold and silver comes into the market, the paper will be gone. Finished. Cannot survive. So in order for their bogus system of oppression and exploitation to be successful, they had to ban the use of gold and silver as money. And they did it. And 100 years have passed, and you can't hear a voice from the world of Islamic scholarship to declare this is haram. Not one voice. If I'm angry, I have reasons to be angry. The paper money system has already reduced Pakistan to miserable poverty. When I went to Pakistan as a student in 1964, $1 was converted to 1 rupee 75 paisas. Yes, they will laugh today because for them it's only laughter. It's not serious. No. And today $1 is about 120, 155 rupees. What happens when the value of the money falls? Answer. When the value of the money falls, prices rise. That's one thing. So they can make sure that you put your toe on the line and you obey them. Because you don't want to see your money like the Zimbabwe dollar and the Venezuelan bolivar. So you obey them. But when the value of the money falls, there is also a transfer of wealth. Unjust transfer of wealth from the masses to a predatory elite inside the country and outside. In 1933, the US government decided, in preparation for the monetary system they wanted to bring, the US government banned the use of gold as money. Not only that, they banned you from keeping gold in your possession. You have to hand over all your gold bars, gold bullion, gold certificate. You can keep your jewelry. And the government said, we will pay you $20 per ounce of gold. Those who were not simply eating biryani and going to sleep, they understood. So they took their gold and they shipped it out of the country. But all the rest of the donkeys gave their gold to the government, which of course is the Federal Reserve Bank, which of course is the private bank, owned by the Jews. That's not an inflammatory statement. That's truth. And if you're not allowed to speak the truth, you are an oppressor. You are oppressing me. I can't speak. That the Federal Reserve Bank was operated by the Jews is a very solid statement. When all the gold had been bought at $20 an ounce, if you were caught with any gold, they would now fine you $10,000 and 6 months in jail. So they soaked up all the gold of the United States. This is the government of the United States of America. Then afterwards, the government then removed the prohibition. But before doing so, they changed the price of gold. Meaning, they devalued the US dollar from $20 an ounce to $35 an ounce. And now they said to the people, you can buy back your gold if you want, but of course, you now lost 41% of your wealth, from 20 to 35. And that 41% of the wealth is in the pockets of the US government. They wanted to see whether the system will work, so that they can apply it to the rest of the world. So as the value of money falls, it was 1 rupee 75 paisas, and today it's 110, 105. As the value of the money falls, there is a massive transfer of wealth from the unsuspecting masses to a predatory global elite, And this is Riba. The Quran describes it as Riba. The Prophet described it as Riba. But before I end, the subject is of more importance than that. Our Prophet cursed. He who was sent as Rahmatul lil Alameen, he cursed all four. Just give me 5 more minutes, inshallah. He cursed all four. And he said that they're all equally guilty. The one who takes riba, you put your money in a fixed deposit, for example, you're taking the riba. The one who gives riba, you take a bank loan on interest to buy a house, whatever it is, and you're paying the mortgage, you're paying the riba. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has cursed you. The one who records the transaction and the 2 witnesses, and he says they're all equally guilty. In another hadith in the Sunan of Ibn Majah, he said that riba is of 70 different parts. And the smallest part of riba is equivalent to a man marrying his own mother. Is it possible for language to be more powerful than that? But finally, he said, there is no escape from riba. No. He said the time will come when you will not find a single person in all of mankind who will not be consuming riba. And whosoever claims that he is not consuming riba, verily the dust of riba will be upon him. Verily the vapor of riba will reach him. That's where we are today. Well then, what do we do? Answer is very simple. He said that when you are faced with 2 evils, no escape. You must always choose the lesser evil. Did you hear that? That's right. The greater evil may be economically beneficial, and the lesser evil may be more expensive for you. But it's not convenience here. It is that you must show integrity. There is no escape. When there is no escape, you must always choose the lesser evil. I think we should stop now. I have given you the skeleton of the subject, but Dr. Ansari has kindly accepted my invitation. So we'll have an all-day seminar in which I'll be able to teach the subject and take you to all the verses of the Quran and all the hadiths and so on, which I couldn't do today. So that now we can attempt to answer your questions, inshallah, and hopefully that out of this session Allah will bless us, that we may understand the subject better and respond to it better.